Welcome! Today you're about to learn the essential history of cinema. Movies aren't just entertainment. They bring people together, spark conversations, and shape culture. Whether you're a casual viewer or a film buff, knowing the key moments in cinema history will help you confidently join any discussion about movies and filmmaking. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid foundation in film history, from the silent era to Netflix, from classic Hollywood to modern blockbusters. You'll expand your knowledge and get a broader perspective on the evolution of cinema. As always, we'll start with a short quiz to test what you already know. Then, we'll take a deep dive into the fascinating world of filmmaking. And at the end, a final quiz will show how much you've learned. It's going to be fun, engaging, and packed with useful facts. Ready? Let's go! Before we dive into the history of cinema, let's test your movie knowledge. You'll answer 9 questions, 3 for each level. Will you be just a background extra, or do you have what it takes to be an Oscar winner? Let's go. Level 1. Background extra. Which movie is this from? The Terminator, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, E.T. In which movie did these actors star together? Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Inception, The Avengers, Ocean's 11, The Dark Knight. Which animated movie is this from? The Lion King, Shrek, Aladdin, Hercules. Level 2. Supporting role. Which movie is this from? Titanic, The Great Gatsby, The Wolf of Wall Street, Catch Me If You Can. In which movie did these actors star together? Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Helena Bonham Carter, Seven, Fight Club, Ocean's 11, The Prestige. Who directed the movie Scarface? Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, Quentin Tarantino. Level 3. Oscar winner. Which mind-bending movie is this from? Interstellar, The Matrix, Inception, Blade Runner 2049. In which movie did these actors star together? Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, Vin Diesel, Saving Private Ryan, Forrest Gump, The Departed, Apollo 13. Which of these movies is based on a real-life historical event? The Social Network, No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And that's it. How did you do? If you got all 9 right, you're officially an Oscar winner in movie knowledge. If not, don't worry. You're about to learn everything you need to know about the history of cinema. Let's dive in. The birth of cinema before the 1920s. The silent era. Cinema didn't exist until the late 19th century. Before that, people entertained themselves with stage plays, magic lantern shows, and photographs. But then, pioneers like the Lumiere brothers and Thomas Edison revolutionized storytelling. In 1895, the Lumieres projected moving pictures for the first time, and audiences were mesmerized. Meanwhile, Georges Méliès proved that cinema could be more than reality. It could be magical, as seen in A Trip to the Moon, 1902. Key innovations and moments. 1895, the Lumiere brothers' screen arrival of a train at La Ciotat. People were so shocked they jumped out of their seats. 1902, Georges Méliès makes A Trip to the Moon, one of the first science fiction films. 1903, The Great Train Robbery introduces early editing techniques, like cross-cutting. 1915, The Birth of a Nation. Pioneers long-form storytelling and cinematography, though controversial for its themes. 1920, German Expressionism emerges, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, influencing horror and film noir. Genres that emerged: silent films, slapstick comedy, early sci-fi, crime drama. Key personalities: Charlie Chaplin, the king of silent comedy, creator of The Tramp. Buster Keaton, a silent-era genius known for his daring stunts. The Golden Age of Hollywood, 1920s to 1940s. Sound, color, and glamour. Hollywood took over cinema, and movies became a global industry. The 1920s saw the rise of silent film stars like Charlie Chaplin. But in 1927, everything changed with The Jazz Singer, the first movie with synchronized sound. The Academy Awards were introduced in 1929, recognizing excellence in filmmaking. Key innovations and moments. 1927. The Jazz Singer introduces sound in film. 1929. The first Academy Awards Oscars are held. 1932. Flowers and Trees wins the first Oscar for Best Animated Short. 1935. Becky Sharp becomes the first full-length color film using Technicolor. 1939. Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz prove color cinema is the future. 1944. The Golden Globe Awards are introduced. Genres that emerged: musicals, screwball comedies, romantic dramas, animated films. Key personalities: Walt Disney created the first feature-length animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937. Alfred Hitchcock started developing psychological thrillers. Oscar-winning films of the era: Gone with the Wind, 1939, one of the most successful films ever made. Casablanca, 1942, defined classic Hollywood romance. The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946, a powerful post-woo drama. The 1950s to 1970s, blockbusters, rebels, and new Hollywood. Cinema fought against television by going bigger. The 1950s brought widescreen formats, Technicolor epics, and the first 3D movies. Meanwhile, independent directors challenged Hollywood's glossy style, leading to the rise of gritty artistic films in the 1960s and 70s. Key innovations and moments. 1952. Buona Devil becomes the first full-length 3D film. 1960. Psycho changes horror with psychological terror. 1968 to 2001. A Space Odyssey sets new standards for science fiction. 1972. The Godfather redefines crime cinema. 1975. Jaws becomes the first modern blockbuster. 1977. Star Wars reshapes pop culture forever. Genres that emerged: psychological thrillers, sci-fi epics, independent cinema. Key personalities: Stanley Kubrick, a perfectionist director known for 2001, A Space Odyssey. Francis Ford Coppola revolutionized crime films with The Godfather. George Lucas changed the film industry forever with Star Wars. Oscar-winning films of the era: Ben-Hur, 1959, epic filmmaking at its peak. The Godfather, 1972, defined modern crime cinema. Rocky, 1976, a powerful underdog story. The 1980s to 2000s, digital revolution and franchises. The 1980s and 1990s brought Hollywood's biggest game changer: computers. CGI and digital filmmaking transformed movies. VHS and DVD allowed people to watch films at home, and franchises became the dominant force in Hollywood. Key innovations and moments. 1982. Tron pioneers early CGI. 1991. Terminator 2 showcases realistic CGI characters. 1993. Jurassic Park proves CGI can create lifelike creatures. 1997. Titanic becomes the highest-grossing film of all time, at the time. 1999. The Matrix revolutionizes action films with bullet-time effects. Genres that emerged: blockbusters, action-adventure, superhero films. Key personalities: Steven Spielberg, king of blockbusters. James Cameron pushed CGI technology in Terminator 2 and Avatar. The 2010s to today: streaming, diversity, and AI narration. Now, cinema is everywhere. Streaming platforms like Netflix and Disney plus challenge traditional theaters. AI and digital effects are evolving rapidly, and the definition of cinema is changing. Key innovations and moments. 2010, Inception plays with non-linear storytelling. 2015, Mad Max Fury Road redefines action cinematography. 2019, Parasite becomes the first foreign language film to win Best Picture. 2022, Everything Everywhere All at Once combines multiverse storytelling with surreal comedy. Genres that emerged: multiverse sci-fi, social commentary films, AI-generated cinema. Key personalities: Christopher Nolan, known for mind-bending narratives. Denis Villeneuve revitalized sci-fi with Dune. Great job! In just a few minutes, you've covered over a century of film history. Now you can confidently discuss movies and impress your friends with your knowledge. But this is just the beginning. We've got tons of exciting topics ahead: geography, cryptocurrency, space, and more. If you love learning in a fun way, subscribe so you don't miss out. Now let's see how much you've learned. Here's your final 5-question quiz. Ready? Let's go. Which movie introduced synchronized sound and marked the transition from silent films? Metropolis, The Jazz Singer, City Lights, The Great Dictator. Which director revolutionized blockbuster filmmaking with Star Wars? Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. Which movie revolutionized horror with its shocking shower scene? The Exorcist, Halloween, Psycho, Jaws. Which film is considered a turning point for CGI and digital effects? The Matrix, Jurassic Park, Avatar, Toy Story. Which 2019 film became the first foreign language movie to win Best Picture at the Oscars? Roma, Parasite, The Shape of Water, Everything Everywhere All at Once. How did you do? Whether you nailed it or learned something new, that's what counts. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. There's plenty more to explore. See you in the next video.